All Blacks and Springboks, folks. Only time that they will play as a part of this rugby championship, and it's a home game for New Zealand. It's a home win for New Zealand in Auckland. 35 points to 20. Kind of a weird game. New Zealand start amazingly well, and then they finish the game with a decent wee flurry as well. There's a bunch of kind of messy stuff in the middle, and then a big South African comeback, which is eventually kind of not enough to get within that kind of final score. But yeah, we'll go through some key events, some stats, and you guys can let us know your thoughts. Now, obviously, with the Women's Football World Cup on here, or about to start here in New Zealand, a lot of the stadiums are kind of otherwise occupied. So this game made its way to usual rugby league ground, Mount Smart Stadium, and the crowd, man, was pretty good. Seemingly kind of pretty vocal, and I thought the atmosphere was just really cracking. The pre-match show, with the South African broadcasters there, and Sio Kolisi was there and whatnot. It was good stuff. And then when the game itself got underway, the All Blacks were just not mucking around, and the South African guys just seemed like a touch off the pace. And they certainly got themselves back into it, but I feel like they're going to look back at that first 20 minutes when they analyse the game and go, yeah, we're a bit rattled. Like as I said, they turned it around, but yeah, the start of the game did not go well for them. And the All Blacks were playing really good rugby. The speed of the ball that they were playing with was quite incredible. And Will Jordan got the first line break. He stepped Faf de Klerk. Frizzell had a big carry. Quokka Smith ended up kind of intercepting the All Blacks play to kind of get the Springboks out of jail. But, I mean, the All Blacks carries were just consistently getting over the advantage line. It was really easy on the eye stuff from the All Blacks early. Will Jordan out wide again. Kind of waiting for Mapimpi to shoot up the line, like how the South African wingers shoot up to kind of close the plays down. You saw Bodie kind of double pump it because he was waiting for Mapimpi to shoot up. So once he saw that kind of initial shooting motion, he got Will Jordan out wide. Will Jordan did get tackled by LaRue, but then was quick enough in his kind of presence of mind to release the ball, pick it up again, and then go again. And with Aaron Smith running a support line, the All Blacks get themselves on the board in the first 5 minutes. So great play from the All Blacks early. 7 points to 0. Great start to the game. Get the crowd into it. It's what you want when you're at home. And then South Africa conceded a couple of penalties, like Frans Steyn, just lazy runner offside. Aaron Smith just picks him out. He does it to both South African props, does Aaron Smith. So it's those ones that you kind of you don't really like to see them, but the rules are there for a reason, because if you didn't have that rule, people would just be obstructing the halfbacks all day long. So, milk penalty from the All Blacks. Line out. Eventually, the Springboks conceded a penalty at the breakdowns. The All Blacks opt for 3. So it's 10 points to 0, and things are ticking along pretty nicely. It gets worse for South Africa when Willemse knocks a ball on in the air. And, the aerial contest was one which you feel like the All Blacks, I think, over the course of the game, you'd have to go back and look at every aerial contest, but the All Blacks certainly got the better of a few of them, which was then followed up by a scrum penalty. So it's all Blacks early. I mean, the South Africans' best moment in that first 20 is when they were on their own goal line and they had a scrum feed of their own and they had a great exit play. It was what I was thinking is going to be a momentum shift. The Springboks have settled and they're going to get back into the game. But not really, because the All Blacks just kept up that quick ball play and their hands were keeping up with how fast they wanted to play the game, which is something they couldn't really do later on. Eventually get a Bowden Barrett offload. Will Jordan, great out wide ball after a few phases have been built together. And Shannon Frizzell just powers over. I think it's LaRue who's trying to stop him from the line. Can't do it. And 17-0 to the All Blacks. I'm sitting there doing a live stream with Tony from Distracted Sports, and he's like, 17 points in 17 minutes is genuinely quite incredible. So, there's people in the chat saying this is going to be another 57-0 game. At that point, I'm still not convinced because, you're not even a quarter of the way into the game. And you do feel like there was a momentum shifter when Frizzell got pinged for a high tackle. Now, initially, it looks like another South African error because when the All Blacks have kicked for touch, the Boks take a quick throw. Visa just makes a meal of it. He drops it forward, and you're thinking, man, it's going from bad to worse. But when he regathers it and continues to play, Frizzell tackles him high, even though it would have been a dead play because it was a knock-on. but the foul play from the high tackle overrules the knock on. So that penalty goes South Africa's way, and at least gives them a chance to get a foothold into the game, because they haven't had much going on in that first quarter. Eventually, Frizzell won a penalty at the breakdown to kind of get them back out of jail for putting his team under the pump, but you could feel South Africa coming into it. Like, they went, I think, 11 faces after winning a turnover. They got a penalty. They went for a maul. It got kind of close, and they stopped. There was a knock-on, I think, both ways. There was a scrum for South Africa. They went through some phases. They almost knocked it on, but Faf regathered it. Puts like a impromptu kind of heads-up cross-kick to Colby. And you genuinely get one of the kind of proper 50-50 calls, I thought, when Colby's competing with Bowden Barrett in the air for that one. I mean, if you looked at it and went, Colby got it, I'd be like, mm-hmm. And if you said Colby knocked it on, didn't ground it, which is the way the TMO ends up seeing it, I can see that, man. It's a 50-50 call. And it's hard to be mad about a 50-50 call. I initially saw it and thought it was a try. The guys sitting next to you thought it's probably not. And that's just one of those calls. So it was messy. There were hands and knees in it, and the TMO eventually rules that it wasn't grounded. So it's a goal line dropout to the All Blacks. Now, goal line dropout, you're still under pressure, but then Dale Leonard just knocks the ball on like it's an unforced error. It's a free catch, and he makes a meal of it as well. So that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Like, just letting the pressure off New Zealand, like they were just building into it. Let that pressure off. You can't be doing that. But admittedly, the All Blacks started doing the same stuff. The game really got kind of scrappy for the second stanza of that first half. I mean, the Boks knock it on. From the resulting scrum, the ball squirts out the back from the All Black side. They can't gather it, so it's a South African gather. South Africa wins a penalty at the breakdown, but then lose the line out. South Africa had a big scrum. Loose ball, All Blacks kick it out on the full. It's just, nobody can put phases together. It becomes a bit of a, it's a bit of a scrap fest. Neither side really able to get on top, but it was an even scrap fest, if nothing else. South Africa did get on the board in 35 minutes when Faf de Klerk slotted a penalty. That was your man Kits off at the breakdown. I think it's the second turnover he'd won, but then he's the one who gets pinged for being kind of lazy runner only a few minutes later. So it's 20 points to 3 after 37 minutes. The Boks do have one last chance before halftime when Talia puts in a high tackle on Mapimpi, and they maul it, but it gets stopped. They go close, but then the Boks get pinged for a kind of neck roll, clearing out one of the All Blacks defenders. So that's the score at halftime, man. 20 points to 3. It's looking like scoreboard-wise relatively comfortable for the All Blacks, but like I said, they started with a hiss and a roar, and then it just slowed down. So both sides kind of got stuck in the mud, basically. Run meters are 254 to 156 at halftime. The All Blacks have had more possession. They've had 5 clean breaks to zip. And the South Africans have missed 19 tackles in that first half, which is kind of uncharacteristic. They've conceded 2 more penalties as well. Frizzell's been on fire. He's broken 9 tackles in that first half. That's as many as he will break in the entire game. Diakas made 10 tackles. South African lineouts also have been a little bit messy. Second half, though, it looked like the All Blacks are starting again with a bit of a hiss and roar. Talia wins a great aerial ball. Will Jordan gets a line break, but Cheslin Colby comes in with a big tackle to kind of shut things down. Faf does his turn to kind of milk a penalty when Brady Retallick was lying on the ground. He just tripped over him and ended up going off injured, which was uncharacteristic. It looked like he was just milking a penalty for mine. But anyway, Grant Williams has to come on, but it's a penalty for the Springboks. And then the Boks get their first try, man. 53 minutes. Malcolm Marx, who's come off the bench. I wonder how many tries that guy scored. I was getting vibes back when he was at the Lions in South Africa. He was just scoring tries for fun at the back of that Lions maul, and he continues that form for South Africa like he's done numerous times before, on the back of a couple of New Zealand penalties conceded, to be honest. And then Colby with the conversion slots it really well because Faf's gone off. So Colby with the kick, it's 20 points to 10. 20 points to 10 is game on, man. Like, it's still 2-score lead for the All Blacks, but a tenuous 2-score lead. And then, like, Lukhanyo Arm puts in a great exit kick for South Africa, getting that momentum really back with South Africa, you could feel. But then the All Blacks kind of wrestled it back a bit. They got a really long kick from Wonga to get themselves 3 points back into it to at least kind of settle things down. But then the momentum shifts back against South Africa when Colby gets probably the best South African try of the game. Like, the All Blacks scored some magic ones in that opening stanza, but the Colby try was the South African version of those kind of magic hands, man. It was just wide ball, similar to what we saw against Australia last week. Really hard to live with. Snyman with a great offload. And then I think LaRue was involved with the kind of final ball. They checked it to make sure it wasn't forward. My first look was that's flat. The guy next to me thought it was forward, but nah, or at least marginal, but I thought it was flat. So, post-conversion, but 23 points to 15. So 23-15 is still a game. But then from that try, the All Blacks don't really go on to look like they're going to lose the game from that point. I thought like the All Blacks got a penalty when like LaRue caught a high ball. The All Blacks guys just flooded the breakdown, won themselves a penalty, go for touch. All Blacks attack. It's going for a long time. It's not really getting anywhere. In contrast to the first 20 minutes where they were able to get over the advantage line for fun, the Springbok line speed is just punishing. The All Blacks guys don't really seem to be going anywhere until Beauden Barrett puts a cross kick through heads up play to Will Jordan, who bobbles it but is able to get it over the line. So it's a little bit of individual brilliance rather than kind of magic kind of team move that gets that Will Jordan try. So 30-15, it's pretty much looking like game. And then speaking of magic team moves, All Black scrum penalty, breakdown penalty, and then they got a scrum close to the box line. Sweet scrum move. Mwanga from a Adi Savia pick up and pass at the back of that scrum. 35-15. 35-15 starting to look like it's not quite a blowout at 20 points, but it's looking more comfortable than that kind of middle stanza of the game has looked. But Quokka Smith kind of was able to burgle one back out of nowhere. Speaking of individual brilliance, right before full time, where he just kind of pinched some loose All Blacks ball and just ran through some All Blacks defenders. So the All Blacks won't be happy with that last score. But with the misconversion, it makes it 35 points to 20. And that's the way it finishes. So, yeah, run meters really evens out. 337 to 321. Remember how lopsided it was in the first half? Clean breaks is still pretty lopsided, 9 to 3. But remember, at half-time, it was 5-0. So it's like 4-3 in the second half, so more even. Turnovers conceded as a concerning one for South Africa. They had less ball, 44%, but more turnovers conceded, 14 to the All Blacks, 10. So they were a little bit, sometimes it was the aerial balls, sometimes just a little bit careless in possession. They also conceded 4 more penalties, 12 to 8. The All Blacks kicked a lot of ball, 28 kicks to 14, which kind of goes against the stereotype of South Africa being the one that kicks all the ball. This time it was all the All Blacks. Will Jordan, man, individually, he's a brilliant player. 72 run meters, 7 defenders beaten, 3 clean breaks, and a try. A lot of involvements in the build-up to the All Blacks. Good moves as well. Frizzell finishes with 9 defenders beaten. He probably had most of them in that first 20 minutes. He was on fire. 43 meters and a try. Also the top tackler for the ABs with 13 from 16. Colby, on his return to the Springboks colours, 90-plus run meters, 4 defenders beaten, 2 clean breaks, and a 1 to try. Quokka Smith, 15 from 16 tackles, wins a turnover, beats 2 defenders, gets a try. Looked pretty tidy as well. So, yeah, we're about to sit back and watch the Aussies take on the Pumas, and then after which we'll have a week break from the Rugby Championship, and then the next game in the final round, we'll see the Boks back home to Argentina, and New Zealand heading across the ditch to take on Eddie Jones's Australian side in the Bledisloe. So, yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts on the game. How do you think it went? And, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.